Today is Tuesday, July the 9th, and everybody's waiting for Fed Chairman Powell's speech tomorrow morning. I believe it's at 10 o'clock. So we've known about that now, and we've been talking about it for the last 4 trading days. So naturally the market is cautious and is hoping that he is going to reveal his hand and say something that sounds like he's open to decreasing the Fed rate. People are looking for 0.5%, which is quite a bit. Basically, it would admit that the Fed made a mistake and are now backtracking. So there's that to think about. And then I'm not going to make any other comments. The Dow, a little bit less than typical average volume, finished down. NASDAQ was up because Apple was able to rebound from the downgrade that it received yesterday. We talked about the downgrade. I didn't think much of it. I bought 600 shares yesterday. I sold 3 weekly 200 calls for $1 something, $1.19, I believe, $1.83 I sold them for. So at 201.83, I will be break even. And we closed today at 201.24. Told you I want to own Caterpillar, and I'm keeping an eye on it. Its ex-dividend date is July the 19th. So it's going to pay out $1.03 on its payout date, August the 20th. That's a substantial amount. So I like the stock. I'm glad that we've had a pullback. We're going to look at it in the charts. The advancers and decliners were flat, which is indicative of traders sort of being very cautious. That means that the breadth is going to stay where it is, which is about at the neutral point. This is something that I tweeted this morning. So now let's go look at some stocks. The S&P finished today with a bounce off of the gap. Gaps are important, and if Fed Powell doesn't say what the market wants to hear tomorrow, this gap is very likely to be filled. It represents from 29.64 to 29.42. So a fairly decent drop tomorrow if Fed Powell says anything except what the market wants to hear. Apple up $1.18. Great day today, and it stopped right at its gap. You can see here today it also stopped at the 8 EMA. So Apple loves to fill gaps and then pull back. So any good news tomorrow, we'll see Apple approach 203.15 and then pull back. The 61.8% Fibonacci is at 204.29. So those are 2 prices to keep in mind. Caterpillar pulled back but maintained support at the 200 EMA, but we still have the cloud down below. So we're keeping an eye on that. I'm still not ready to pull the trigger and buy Caterpillar. I've got until the 19th, which is next week. I thought it was Friday of this week, actually. So as time moves on, we're going to see the 50 EMA and the cloud, top of the cloud, intersect. And that could be a trading magnet for Caterpillar. So I'm going to keep my eye on those 2 things. Going back to Apple, we did say yesterday when we put this arrow on the chart that we are going to look for a bounce of the Chiku span off of the cloud. And that's exactly what we got. And so I credit that for today's turnaround. Simply that the traders were looking at the Chiku span and buying it when it hit the top of the cloud. It's not voodoo. I mean, I've shown this kind of thing too often to say that it's not something that traders are looking at. Gold was up 22, and I purchased 200 shares of GDX today and I'm going to try to rebuild back into my position of 700 shares of GDX. And that is a hedge against dollar weakening. WDC continues to move up. Great day today. Up over the 200. That's a good sign. This has been a wonderful stock to have held and have had confidence in. Here is the Chiku span getting stopped at the top of the cloud. So we're going to mark that as a visibility for 1 day only. So we're only going to see it on the 1 day chart. When we look at other time frames, that marker will not be there. So the next move for WDC, any good news in the market, any good news for chips or technology, is going to see the price striking the 200 EMA, which is 52.18. I am still long WDC with 800 share, no, sorry, with 1,000 shares. Whirlpool continues to pull back, but did get a little bit of a bounce during the day. So let's look at it on the 4 time frames, and let's key in here Whirlpool. And on the, what was the tell chart? On the 5 minute, we had rejection of the Chiku span on the cloud. We had us break through the cloud at the end of the day. That's a good thing. And what else? We're still above this trend line. So we're still above this 5-hit trend line. I would expect to see support at that trend line. Volume today was only average after 4 days of really low trading volume. So this selling, this was a hammer here. So you could have seen a reverse, but we saw up. Then we saw a doji, indecision. Then we saw this hanging cross. And the volume in all of those 4 days was insignificant. Today we had average trading volume, but we ended the day on an up note. So let's look at the 15-minute chart again. And here's how the day ended from 3 in the afternoon on up. We just moved up and we stopped at the low of the opening 15 minutes. That's the screen zone, which is the high and the low of the first 15 minutes of trading when the mutual funds are in there buying and selling. So that's it for today. It's all going to depend on what happens at 10 o'clock when Fed Powell starts to speak tomorrow.